My spiritual journey can be summed up using this spool of thread. This thread will represent my life from the moment my umbilical cord was cut free to the day that I die. Toward the beginning of my life, in the innocence of childhood, there were no feelings of separateness or division, but a trust and a wholeness in a very natural way. Like this thread, I was in a state of unity in a spiritual way. But something happened when I was quite young. I would say maybe about 4 or 5 years old. It was an act of self-will and independence. I disobeyed for the first time and said no to goodness. This no harmed my innocence, which made it easier to say no to obedience many times in my life. For example, in my teen years, I was offered drugs. My conscience told me this wasn't a good choice, but I said no to my conscience. This led to regular drug use and further separation from what I knew in my heart was right. Later came the offer to drink alcohol before the legal age, and instead of saying yes to sobriety, I said no. This contributed to years of alcoholic behavior and untold damage to relationships and my health. I've said no to humility in my quest for power. I've said no to simplicity in my quest for money. I've said no to fidelity in my quest for physical pleasure. My life up to that point had been a series of no's to what I knew and what my Catholic faith always taught me was right. Don't get me wrong. I'd made attempts to do good, but was consistently falling short, lost in a pattern of sinfulness. I attended Mass, frequented the sacraments, and really tried hard to practice my faith, but something was missing. Then something very special happened. While volunteering at a confirmation retreat, I heard a young adult give a talk about her Christian story. In the talk, she spoke about the great relationship she had with her grandmother and the impact her grandmother had made in her life. Her grandmother had told her, "If you ever want to know what Jesus wants you to do, just look at your hands." I thought this was a strange suggestion, but I decided to give it a try and began to really look at my hands. While examining my hands, I realized immediately what my hands could do. You see, since I was about 7 years old, I have been fascinated with magic tricks. I wasn't doing anything with my talent and thought maybe Jesus wants me to do something with my hands and this talent to serve Him. I can't describe the experience of knowing, which I felt deep inside, but it was life-changing. Almost immediately, I began to see my magical talents in an inspired way and started to make a connection between illusion and truth. The pieces that made up my life started to come together in a mystical way. Along the path of my spiritual journey, friends of mine introduced me to Mary, undoer of knots. They had seen me perform some rope tricks and thought that there may be a connection. Mary, undoer of knots, is a 312-year-old painting from an unknown artist in Perlach, Germany, based on the parallel made by St. Paul between Adam and Christ. St. Irenaeus, back in the year 200, in turn, made a comparison between Eve and Mary, saying, "Eve, by her disobedience, tied the knot of disgrace for the human race, whereas Mary, by her obedience, undid it." So following this inspiration, I prayed to Mary, undoer of knots, to help me undo the knots in my life. I didn't attempt to name the knot because I knew I had many. I just left it up to Mary to decide which knot was most important in God's will. So through the intercession of Mary, undoer of knots, to our Lord Jesus, the knots in my life began to dissolve. Obstacles in my spiritual path have been removed, and I began to see very clearly how my talents with sleight of hand could be used to His glory, using illusion to reveal truth. For those of you who see this video and question the tools of an illusionist to teach spiritual truth, try to see it this way. An artist could paint the picture of a person. If the artist is particularly talented, their artwork gives the illusion of a living being. We know it's not a living being, but just a painting, and not fooled into believing it's nothing more than an excellent work of art. The painting points us to something beyond, as it imitates the work of the true Creator. A magician, such as myself, is an artist of illusion. I use the art of illusion to reveal the reality of truth. We know the illusion I create is just a trick. I make no claims to any supernatural ability, but I use this illusion to help others discover the unchanging truth beyond illusion. I call this Magi Theology. Why do I share all this with you? I know this is going to sound strange, but I love you. I may not even know you personally, but I sincerely love you. God has placed such a great love in my heart that I'm compelled to share it. I couldn't be quiet even if I tried. I feel like I would explode if I didn't let it out. But why should you care? Well, if you were tricked by my magical demonstration, just imagine the illusions in your own life that you mistake for reality. If you develop the ability to see the illusions of this life for what they really are, you will discover the peace beyond understanding and a level of satisfaction outside this world. A joy will come alive in you and manifest itself through your unique talents. You are the last of your kind. There has never been and never will be anyone like you. And Jesus desperately needs your unique gifts. The illusion I just performed to help make my point is what magicians call a restoration. Let's make the restoration of the Garden of Eden a reality and bring to fulfillment the Lord's Prayer that the Father's will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Take a moment and look at your hands. What is Jesus saying to you?